Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Star Wars Rebels episode review. This one's going to be for Season 3, Episode 20, Twin Suns. Probably the most anticipated episode of Rebels yet, to a degree. I know people were excited for the Ahsoka Vader stuff, but it felt like there was a lot of hype around this one, just because this is like Obi-Wan, Maul, showdown, and there was just so much excitement around that. Unfortunately, the episode was a little bit kind of false advertised in a way, in that everything made it seem like this episode was going to be Kenobi Maul focus. Whereas the episode starts, and it's like 14 minutes before you meet Obi-Wan. You see Maul a bit at the start, but it's basically like 13 minutes of Ezra walking around the desert, not a lot happening. Then we get to basically the third of the episode, and that's when everything happens. Everything happens within the last 8-7 minutes of the episode, and there's a frustration with that because the first 14 minutes are a little bit of a waste of time. I get they were trying to build up this pretty big thing, and they to a degree Ezra's arc with regards to almost abandoning the rebels just before the big Lothal attack in the finale happens is okay, he's kind of prioritizing this kind of holocron, trust in the holocrons connection with Maul over his importance to the rebels at this point in time. And that's interesting enough, but even that I don't feel was emphasized enough to make it a really big arc, because it was only this episode. I get it was referencing the previous episodes, the previous stuff with Maul and the holocrons, but it felt very just thrown in for this episode. And then he's just, as I said, steals a ship, gets to Tatooine, gets attacked by Tuskens, and then is basically just walking around the desert. I didn't like the action scenes all that much. It was meant to get across that Maul is manipulating Ezra again, and he's using Ezra to draw Kenobi out. But I don't feel that even needed to be a thing. Why did you have to have Ezra meet Obi-Wan for the sole purpose of having Maul find Kenobi? Is it really that big of a problem that Maul could just find Kenobi? He's on his own, so and as we see, Maul is killed. So was there really any issue with kind of focusing just on Maul and Kenobi? I think ultimately, given what actually happens, what was needed was that you needed more focus on Maul within this episode. The first, half of the episode should have been focused on Maul going through the desert on his own. Him talking to himself about, everything he's been through, what he hopes will happen once he meets Obi-Wan, and what he'll do after he, kills Obi-Wan or whatever. That should have been it, because Maul's death scene is fascinating because of how it happens, because of what he says as he's dying, and the way Obi-Wan kind of treats Maul. I just felt like it was very badly set up in that we haven't seen Maul in so many episodes, and then it's just oh, Maul's on Tatooine, he's calling Ezra, Ezra's here, and now he's basically just being set up to die. To me, what I can't believe about this episode is I can't believe that they basically made Maul's death throwaway. That it felt like the side plot of the episode, Maul's death. Kenobi and Maul, in a way, felt like the side plot because they got so little time. In that I don't think we're seeing Maul again in... Well, of course we're not seeing Maul again. I don't think we're seeing Obi-Wan again in Rebels. I think this was his one involvement, basically, within the series. I don't see any way where they would go back to Tatooine within the show. So there's a frustration there too, and that I don't feel Obi-Wan's role was fulfilled all that well. That said, I did like the last 7 minutes, albeit because they were the only good 7 minutes of the episode. So we get a few interesting scenes here. Obi-Wan saves Ezra from the desert and basically, obviously gives him some food, water, lets him sleep safely, seems to recharge Chopper to a degree. And then what they talk about, he immediately knows who he is. Ezra Bridger, you're not meant to be here. And basically just points out to him that, you can't trust the holocrons. You kind of saw what you wanted to see, believed what you wanted to believe, and you came here, hoping for something. Your destiny is not to find me and bring me back to the rebellion. you should be there with the rebellion. There, that's what your destiny is. It's not meant to be here. That, like, he very clearly pointed out that you should never have come here. It's not part of, like, what you're meant to do being here. I'm here. Yes, I know Maul is coming. I will deal with him, not you. I don't need you to fight with me. And he just basically sends Ezra on his way. I liked it because it showed the wisdom of Obi-Wan, that even though he's out on Tatooine, he's still aware of kind of what's going on within the galaxy. He's aware that Ezra is Ezra, basically. So I like that. There's the implication, I suppose, that, like, Ezra has met Yoda. Obi-Wan and Yoda, to some degree, must have a connection because Obi-Wan knows the technique to kind of become a Force ghost. So Yoda must have told Obi-Wan to a degree who Ezra was, or else he just knows from the Force that Ezra's out there. So just him knowing all of that and being the wise character that he is was nice to see. But then Ezra's kind of shoved aside. So it's this weird thing where, like, the focus of the episode is on Ezra, but the big moments of the episode don't require Ezra. So you basically have Ezra get us to a point where we can actually witness Maul versus Kenobi, but he leaves prior to seeing it happen. And then the end of the episode, because it's not focused on, like, Maul or Obi-Wan, it's just Ezra kind of apologizing for leaving in the first place. It's a really baffling setup for the episode. But we do then get the Maul Kenobi showdown. And it is well done because I like the talk that they have beforehand of just Obi-Wan cool, calm and collected. He is not going to draw his weapon. He's confident in the moment. And it's just Maul kind of taunting him to get him to draw his weapon. Of just like, you're a rat in the desert. I expected more of you. I can't believe you're living here like this. And then he goes from basically insulting him, just like, why you, Kenobi? Why are you in the desert? This is not what I expect of you. And then he realizes that, oh, it's true. You wouldn't usually do this. That means you have to have a purpose here. Something, someone. He begins to like sense, kind of think around about what Kenobi's purpose is here. So he clearly, I suppose to some degree, maybe senses that there is someone who is Force sensitive around, and that being Luke. And that's when Obi-Wan draws his weapon. That's when he ignites the lightsaber. That's when it's on. I like that it took basically the allusion to Luke for Obi-Wan to get involved in this situation. And then from there, the fight is interesting because it's maybe 4 attacks. It's like do, and then Obi-Wan slices through the middle of Maul's double-bladed lightsaber, plus I suppose cuts him basically across here and kills him. I don't really know how I feel about that. In that, like, I get I understood going into this episode we weren't going to have like a protracted, like, 10-minute extended lightsaber battle between these two, but I expected more than like it to be like less than 10 seconds the actual engagement that they had. I expected maybe a minute or two of fighting with like Obi-Wan clearly having the advantage, Maul getting increasingly desperate. Maybe he'd taunt and mention something about Luke more specifically, and Obi-Wan would finish him off then. But it felt like they rushed it, that they'd used too much of the episode with Ezra, and so they had to just completely lower the amount of time that was given to these big moments, like the Obi-Wan and Maul duel. But also, I in a way like that it was a short battle, because I think the worst thing they could have done was had it be this really even contest, where I think what they were trying to do here was point out that even though Maul was criticizing Obi-Wan for like, look how like disheveled you are living out here in the desert on your own, Maul wasn't in fact the one who was the disheveled one, who has no path, who is just completely fueled by revenge and has nothing going for him. He is the one who is weak because he isn't taking care of himself and is just completely driven by one goal. He is the one who can easily be taken advantage of here in this fight. That, to a degree, that the problem here was that Maul was so driven, even though he was driven by the dark side and stuff like that, because he hadn't just, like, because he was the one who had lost himself, he wasn't in the best physical condition, the amount of stuff he's been put through over the last few years in the series and stuff like that, he was the one who was easy to defeat, not Obi-Wan, who initially came across as like the frail old man living in the desert. So I get that kind of story they were trying to tell here, that it looked like Obi-Wan had the disadvantage, but he just immediately owned Maul in the fight. I think probably the best scene of the episode was how they did the final death scene. Again, I feel that it should have been a little bit more extended. I get he's dying, so like you can't do a huge scene, but just a little bit longer of like Obi-Wan holding the dying Maul, and Maul basically just saying, it's the chosen one, isn't it? Like who Obi-Wan is looking after, and then him just dying. Like his final words are basically just that. Like I kind of basically is just to say, I hope he is the one who kind of takes revenge for us all. Basically saying that like Luke defeating the Sith would be justice for the Jedi, but it would also be justice for Maul, having himself been betrayed by the Sith, by Palpatine, killing his brother and abandoning him, basically. His path to power was lost and sent him on this path, basically. That, in a way, Maul hated the Sith more than he hated Obi-Wan, but he on his own was completely unable to fight back against the Sith. And so, in the end, he's kind of like, he accepts his death. He accepts dying at Kenobi's hands because he knows that someone new will come and actually end the Sith, and he kind of believes in it. I kind of like that in a way. Maul, who like was kind of there when Anakin, the original chosen one, was kind of found, is now kind of there when and discovers the new chosen one in a way, Luke. That family he kind of has a connection to just because he's kind of been around everything that's been happening. So it's a fitting death for him, but again, the problem is just the duel was too short. The death scene was too short. The talking between Maul and Obi-Wan was too short, given their rivalry. Given their rivalry that started in Episode 1, that continued through the Clone Wars, and ends now, giving it like 4 minutes of an episode, more or less, was frustrating. And then ending the episode, of course, with Obi-Wan going to the Lars homestead and seeing Luke in the distance, kind of running back home at night. That was a nice moment to end the episode on, just that they didn't show us Luke. They showed a kind of silhouette far off in the distance of Luke, but just that he's there and we're getting close to the time when the New Hope needs to rise. As for the Ezra ending of the episode, where he returns home, apologizes, and is basically just like, you're my family, this is where I need to be, I'm sorry for going where I needed to, we won't be seeing Maul anymore. Okay, so to some degree through the Force, he could tell that Obi-Wan killed Maul, and that whatever Obi-Wan's doing, it's fine. I kind of didn't like that he just didn't reveal that Obi-Wan was alive, that he didn't say any of that stuff, that it really made Ezra's involvement in the episode not feel important at all, in that the only thing he gained from going to Tatooine was basically that I'm meant to be here, which has been the whole point of the show, that the Ghost Crew is a family, not just a kind of fighting unit. So I don't feel we needed this episode to emphasize that to Ezra a lot. The only thing it really served was that the death of Maul now kind of cuts all of Ezra's ties to potentially going down any other path, like the dark side. That he knows he's meant to be here with the rebellion, not doing the Obi-Wan Kenobi type role of looking after the chosen one. So there's that. So, final thoughts are that this was an episode of like two halves. Most of it was pretty boring, but the good stuff was some of the best in the series. It was just let down by them focusing on the wrong things. The Obi-Wan stuff within the episode needed more time, and the Ezra stuff didn't need that much time. So that's the way I thought. That's my thoughts on the episode. I haven't seen anyone else talk about the episode. I made it specifically clear that with this episode, that I was just going to watch this episode myself, review it, and then see what other people are thinking. So I'm probably going to, like, when I finish this video, check out what other reviewers are saying about the episode, and we'll see where we go from there. But in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the episode, your thoughts on my review, but that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.